This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hey, welcome to another edition of Law Lite Podcast. This is your temporary host, PJ Starks. Normally I'm the co-host, but today Travis, well, he figured it was okay for him to take some vacation time. He doesn't realize that with him having his name on the side of the building, that really is not what should be happening. But he went ahead and took advantage of it anyways, and here I am hosting. We are not at 530 Frederick Street, the downtown office, the white brick edifice. We are not there. And today I have a special guest / co-host with me, the one, the only, John Bennett.
How you doing, PJ?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. I think it's okay for Travis to take a vacation. I mean,
He's earned it.
doing a little fishing, I think.
Yeah. See, he told me that he was going to be doing fishing today, but then I saw where I guess he had done fishing over the weekend. So I don't know if it's just he's like fishing all week.
I mean, I think that's my understanding. He's on a week-long fishing trip, maybe.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so.
Do you like fishing?
I like fly fishing. I'm not patient enough to sit in a boat and throw it into muddy water and just watch a bobber sit there.
Right.
I like waiting.
What's the difference?
Well, fly fishing, you usually go to like a creek with fast-moving water, colder water typically.
Right.
And you can actually see most of the fish in front of you. And then there's a lot of topwater. Fly fishing is known for a lot of topwater casting, where you put the bait on top of the water, let it float over the top of the fish. And so that's more enjoyable for me because I can actually see what I'm fishing for. And
Right.
It's a lot more active. You have to change out the flies pretty regularly and that type of thing.
Do you catch more fish with that type of fishing?
I mean, you can. Yeah, I mean, it's easier to see them. They're not as far down in the water. I mean, the water's more shallow and stuff like that. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's just more active fishing rather than just sitting on a boat on the shoreline, just waiting for something to bite.
Yeah, see, I've only been fishing that I can remember once in my life, and I do not have the patience for it. I was on a boat in a lake, and I caught like a goldfish, and we were there for 2.5 hours, and I was really mad.
Yeah.
And it did not feel like it was worth my time. I could have been watching Power Rangers is how I felt about life in that moment. And I never did it again. I vowed that I would never go fishing again.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is when you're doing that type of fishing, you're in close quarters with somebody else, which typically isn't good for the other fishermen around me because I tend to hook people, inadvertently.
Yeah, that could be bad.
So fly fishing, you spread out a little more, and you typically, if you're going to hook something, you usually hook yourself. So.
Right. So what you're saying is you are dangerous to fish with.
Oh, yeah. I used to fish as a kid. There was actually, over in Ohio County, I'd go over there to my mom's friend's relative's place, and twice in the same trip, I hooked this guy in the back of his shirt, and then I hooked his hat and actually, had his hat swing around on my rod. And
right.
About that time, they were like, okay, I think supper's ready.
So if you ever accidentally kill someone while you're fishing and you throw their body in the river, will it wash the evidence away?
I don't think so, no.
Being a criminal defense attorney.
Bodies float.
Yes, they do. Speaking of which, we've had 3 bodies found here in Owensboro the last, 2.5 weeks, something like that?
Yeah, that's concerning, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I find interesting is every article is like, the Owensboro Police Department does not suspect foul play. It's like, how many more bodies do we have to find in the river before they suspect foul play?
Each one's a unique circumstance, I'm sure.
True. I heard the first 2 apparently were suicides from Louisville, and they floated downriver. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true.
Well, I couldn't tell you, PJ. I don't watch the news very often.
That is almost as concerning as finding bodies.
I've got 3 young kids.
You don't have time for the news.
Yeah.
Well, I don't watch the news either. Usually I'll just look up breaking news before we do the podcast, so then I can pretend like I'm up to date and have my finger on the pulse of the community.
Okay. Well, I have been consumed by this Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing for a little while here.
I have too. Part of me doesn't want to care, and then the other part of me that it's fascinated by all that stuff, celebrities and things, then I get sucked into it.
Yeah, well, and the fascinating part has been kind of watching the legal teams and how they're handling this or mishandling it on some instances.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really seen anything yet in terms of mishandling on Johnny Depp's team, but I've seen quite a few blunders with Amber Heard's team.
Yeah, it's been entertaining to say the least, and I can't imagine the cost of those legal fees with how many lawyers they've got sitting on both sides of that. I mean, it's just and how many documents are going through, and I mean, all the videotapes and the experts. I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars, I'm sure.
In the last podcast, I talked to Travis about he has a trial coming up, and there's co-counsel, right? So it's him and another gentleman. But like when you take a situation where you have Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, or most celebrities, they tend to have more than one co-counsel. I mean, what is the purpose, do you know, of having like 5 different attorneys? I mean, does every attorney serve a specific purpose? Do you know how that works? I mean, that's what I've always been curious about.
Well, I mean, just the sheer volume of documentation that goes into this case, the management of presenting the exhibits to the witness while they're on the witness stand, the intimate knowledge that's needed to know, you know, what exactly they're going to testify to, when they're going to testify to it. It's just, I mean, in a case like this, you're talking about just a lot of it's just logistics. And, I mean, you know, one person only has so many hours in the day, so, you know, they're going to split up who's going to direct and cross-examine each witness. They may have broken it into components. You know, you're taking this subject matter or this event. You know, it's just there's just so much to logistically manage in a case like that. And I mean, there's a lot of complex cases. When you get into complex cases, you just have to break them down, and there's going to be more than one attorney needed. And a lot of times too, you just want different perspectives. I mean, you may get into a case and you just need a fresh set of eyes to look at it to say, hey, you know, do you think this theory is going to fly with the jury?
Every time I've seen that where you have more than one, I figured each one served a purpose, but you don't really ever get the chance to see the inside, behind-the-scenes details of a case because you're not allowed to because of the confidentiality part of it.
Right. Well, and the other thing, too, is I'm sure there was a whole litany of pretrial motions, arguments, those types of things that had to be briefed, had to be researched, you know. And so there's a lot of man-hours simply that goes into those things. And there's probably a ton, you know, there may be 10 or 12 other attorneys that don't ever see the courtroom that's working on this case.
Right. Here's something else interesting, because earlier I was leading up to, because I knew we were going to talk about it some, but leading up to it, I watched a little bit of the live trial today with Amber Heard because she's the one who's sitting on the stand today being questioned. And I noticed that whenever she would begin to talk, if she was trying to say what she said to Johnny versus what he was saying to her, they would object. And then the judge would come in and say, look, we don't want to know what you said to him. We want to know what he said to you. So, like, they weren't allowing her to say what she had said to him, but it had to be specifically what he was saying to her. And I found that very interesting. Like, how are you not allowed to say what you said?
Well, because it has to be, so there's some evidentiary rules that are at play here, but what we're talking about is hearsay. And hearsay is an out-of-court statement made for the truth of the matter asserted. And I know you and I have talked about this, and it can get really complex.
Oh, yeah, because I'm still confused by it.
So basically, if there's a statement that was made out of the courtroom, which obviously is not under oath, to prove what you said out of the courtroom was true, that cannot be introduced unless there's an exception. Now, one of the exceptions to that rule is that when an adverse party presents a statement by an opponent So she can say what a party said to her, which would be Johnny Depp in this case, who is adverse to her, right? I mean,
Right.
on separate sides of the V. So she can say what he said to her, and he can say what she said to him, but they can't say what each of them said themselves outside of court to prove, basically, to bolster their own testimony.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I was going to say, how is what you are saying you said hearsay? That's where I start getting confused.
Well, and because it's not necessarily credible to say what you said yourself.
Right.
And
Like it
otherwise
has to, it almost,
right,
because you could be.
Because if she's trying to
lying.
prove he's a dirtbag, and she said, well, I said he was a dirtbag 6 months ago when we were having this argument. Like, okay, so what? Like, I mean,
Right.
it doesn't mean anything necessarily coming from your own self if you said it, because then just people would just go around saying, well, I didn't drive drunk that night. And then I told the officer I didn't drive drunk, you know. And
Right.
so it just clogs up the court with a lot of unnecessary, well, we know you don't think you drove drunk because you're sitting here claiming you're innocent of driving drunk. You know, you don't have to say that in front of the court. You know?
Right. Well, like I said, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, and I know when we were talking about the hearsay, it was dealing with hearsay in a different way when we first started talking about it, and then today when they weren't allowing her to say what she had said, it was so it was a different type of hearsay, and I just thought that was really bizarre. Like that, then it confused me, and I was back to square one.
Right. And then they can offer it for a different, now if the judge might allow it in sometimes for a different purpose, say like, for what the effect on the listener was. So it's not that she's saying it to prove that he's a dirtbag, but to prove that's why he hit me, maybe.
Right.
You know, and so, because I called him a dirtbag, he got mad that he hit me.
Yeah.
So, but it's not to prove that he's a dirtbag, it's to say why he would have hit her.
Good times. One thing I did not mention, and I want to mention real fast, is obviously, I did say that we weren't at the office, but we today are, and it's obvious by the background noise. We are at Dee's Diner.
I don't know if it's obvious, PJ. I mean, they're not shouting, we're at Dee's Diner.
That's
here.
true. Well,
It's just kind
listen
of
here, smarty pants. It is obvious to
Sorry,
us.
that's my lawyer coming out at me.
Objection, hearsay. So today we are at Dee's Diner. We've been coming here. This is the third podcast we've done here. We're going to be eating some delicious food paid for by Foreman Watson Holtry.
Yeah, I considered getting the steak and shrimp.
You
but
should
then
have.
Thought I would take it easy.
I told you it was okay because Travis said that they'll pay for whatever we want to get. And he was like, look, if you want to stick around long enough to be able to buy more food in a couple of hours, that's cool too. He'll probably deny that he ever said that.
I might get a to-go plate for my kids and my wife.
There you go.
Take some stuff home.
And then, on the house from Foreman Watson Holtry.
On the white brick edifice, right?
That's right. That's the white brick edifice pays for that. 90% of what we just said is not true, but we are at Dee's Diner. That part is true. And if you have not been to Dee's Diner, it is on 4th Street. It's I'll be honest, I don't have the address committed to memory.
If you've lived in Owensboro for more than 6 months and haven't been to Dee's Diner,
oh, you need to.
Are you really?
Right here. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Are you really in Owensboro?
What is that? What did you get?
It's the loaded Italian beef.
Oh, it's loaded.
Yes.
It's got all the Italian and all the beef on it. So is it like an au jus? Is that an au jus with it?
Yes. That's good French, PJ.
Thank you. Now, if it's an Italian sandwich, why does it have a French broth with it?
You'll have to ask the beef experts, PJ.
I thought you were a beef expert.
No, I'm not.
Well, it's you're cultured, much like cottage cheese.
Well,
and it's an international plate.
Yes.
It's got multiple cultures happening. French, Italian, Well, and then French fries, but I'm pretty sure that's American.
Yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be a sandwich, but I don't think there's any way that I can eat this with my hands.
That is a mound of sandwich.
Yes. It has bread, but then also it is just completely piled high.
It really is.
And I thought we were going to foreshadow maybe next week's episode.
We are.
That you've got a little secret, and we're not going to let the cat out of the bag.
It's a big secret.
Well, yes, it is a big secret.
It's a big secret. And I think it's not only going to shock Travis, it's going to shock everybody else who listens to this podcast.
Well, yes, because I think it's going to overturn some prior statements that you've made.
It is. It is. It's going to turn them into hearsay. I don't know if the statement that I just made is correct, but I went ahead and said it anyway.
No, it's not even close.
Well, yes, so that's one of the things that we were going to talk about today, too, is about leaks in the system. And I can't leak my secret today.
That's right.
But you are going to have to come back and be a part of the next episode because we're going to have to wait and see what Travis's reaction is. Oh, I am too. It's. I think he's going to be floored.
Yeah.
And for the listeners out there, I'm not pregnant because I know that that's probably what you're thinking.
Well, that's good to hear, PJ. And because we might have a lot more to talk about.
That's true.
You might have some other secrets.
That's a whole other secret. I've had a vasectomy, so it is impossible for me to get pregnant.
Well, then I think the other thing we're going to talk about too is I know a lot of people have probably been interested in this Supreme Court leak, and that's kind of what we were hinting at, I guess.
Yep.
But so what has happened, we're not going to talk about the substance of the draft. It's a draft opinion. What happens is when the Supreme Court hears cases, they hear what's called oral argument, and then they have a session, and they hear multiple cases at a time, and the Supreme Court sits and listens to the attorneys argue orally about these cases. And then what happens is they take themselves back into chambers, and they're the only ones allowed in the room. It's very secretive. Actually, the least senior judge, or the newest judge, is charged with opening the door if someone knocks. So they meet in this room, and then they take a preliminary vote on what they're going to decide about the case. And then they charge somebody who is in the majority, if there's a majority. In this case, I think it was 5-4 or 5-3, and say, hey, you're going to write this opinion, and then we're going to circulate it, and if we sign off on it, then we'll publish it, and if not, we can make changes to it, or I can say that I agree with the most of the decision, but I disagree with some things. I'm still going to cast my vote on the majority side to make this an official legal precedent, but I disagree with it on some basis. So what happened in this case is the Supreme Court met this guy, Alito drafted the majority opinion, and before it was final, it was leaked out to Politico website and basically blasted all over the world. And it's the big deal is that this is what would be a landmark decision overturning 40 or 50 years of legal precedent on the issue of abortion. Now, obviously, that's a very hot political issue. The Supreme Court is supposed to be...
That's putting it lightly.
Yes. But the Supreme Court is supposed to be apolitical, meaning they aren't supposed to be swayed by politics. They're supposed to be swayed by law. The court has increasingly become political. Both sides have engaged in what the other has said is court packing. Basically, when a Republican's in office and has an opportunity to put a Republican on the Supreme Court, they do it. And vice versa for Democrats. When a Democrat's in office, they want to put a Democrat on the Supreme Court. And that's problematic because this is supposed to be a apolitical institution. And the secrecy behind the decision-making has upheld for over 200 years. It's crazy that in 200 years this has never happened before, that an opinion, a draft opinion, has been leaked before it's become final. And that's a testament to how much these, even if they don't agree, that they trust each other and that they're friendly. And now some of that's been compromised by this leak. And unlike us, the law clerks for the Supreme Court justices have their own cafeteria where nobody can overhear what they're hearing or what they're saying to each other during lunch about these different legal issues.
Right.
And so somebody's leaked this opinion, and some of the theories is that either it's to, garner support in the midterm elections coming up, to get people riled up about whether or not abortion should be left to the states to decide, or that they're trying to sway one of the Supreme Court justices to basically change his opinion or lock it in.
Right. So is the idea, though, that the leak came from within, so it's one of the Supreme Court justices?
Well, it would have to come within, but there are a number of people that could have leaked it. It could have come from one of the justices himself. It could have come from one of the law clerks, and there's multiple law clerks for each justice. So it could have come from one of them, or it could have been from one of the typists who basically just, takes the draft opinion and types it up into this format.
So it's not as airtight as we would like.
No,
it's supposed to be.
It has been for 200 years. This is the first time it's ever happened. So this is because whoever did this is more than likely going to lose their job, and more than likely will not work in a legal field.
Right. I would assume they'll be able to get to the bottom of it because there's got to be a paper trail.
Yeah, they should be able to find out who did it. Now, whether or not they decide to disclose that, may be another issue.
Right. It could be the lizard people. Because as we all know,
is that from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something?
No. You know who the lizard people are, right? The aliens.
No.
They're supposedly there's like a species of reptilians that supposedly run the world. And
I've never heard this theory.
Have you seriously never heard this before?
No,
I'm going to say this. I do not believe it's true. But
I'm glad to hear that.
A lot of conspiracy theorists and stuff out there, they have videos and things where politicians will be in the middle of giving a speech, and suddenly you'll see their eyes change shape and stuff like that, and that's where whatever the guise is or the technology that they're using to shield our eyes from what they really look like fails momentarily, and it's seen, and that's their. Now, honestly, being a video editor, I'm looking at it, and it's either manipulated video and or it's just bad video where there's pixelation and things, and it just it creates the look of a transformation in someone's eyes or on their face. But you know how those conspiracy theorists are.
I've been accused of being a conspiracy theorist before.
Have you really?
Yes.
Over what?
It was actually in a courtroom. A judge accused me of that one time.
What was the conspiracy? Can you talk about it?
Well, probably shouldn't. Not a whole lot.
Well, thanks for bringing it up. So now you can't talk about it. That's great.
It was just
there goes our ratings.
Well, there are some secrets that I'll have to keep to myself.
Apparently, you might be a lizard person. But
my wife might agree with you on that one.
I have no idea where you were going with that, and I had a few inappropriate jokes, but I'm going to keep those to myself. All right, enough about the lizard people. How's your sandwich? You haven't really jumped into it that much.
No, I'm trying to form a theory of attack.
I see. I'm getting the vibe, too, that you're not wanting to hear yourself eat.
Well, that's true. I'm sure nobody else wants to hear me eat either.
Oh, wait. So back to the Supreme Court. One of the questions I had earlier when you and I were talking about this was, and obviously it's it's about the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And while we won't get into any personal opinions as to the subject matter, I saw an article where it said whatever the decision that is made about the abortion subject could affect other topics such as gun control, climate change, things of that nature. So how does one transition over into the other?
Well, there's two things here. First off, I think they're more talking about the functionality of the Supreme Court and whether the trust has been broken to be able to basically allow the justices to speak freely about their opinions, and then whether or not it's going to allow them. The danger here is that if you start leaking these opinions early, is that the political atmosphere, because what we have happening now are, protests about the potential opinion coming out. Whether that backlash can sway a vote one way or the other is very dangerous, because then any opinion a law clerk doesn't like or one justice doesn't like, we'll just leak his opinion and see if we can get them to change their mind that way. And that shouldn't happen. So we're talking about the functionality of this and whether it may happen in the future. And the other thing is that essentially what Roe and Casey did was take the power of legislating restrictions on abortion away from the states and make it a federal issue. And basically, because it's a federal constitutional right, the states couldn't do anything to take that away to an extent. Okay, I mean, there were minimum protections between the states and the federal government. The federal government provides baseline protections that the states must uphold. Now, they can go above and beyond the federal protections, but the federal protections are kind of the baseline. What Roe and Casey did was say, look, this is the minimum that you have to provide people. And overturning that, the Supreme Court saying, look, the feds should basically stay out of this issue and the states should be left to their own devices about how they want to regulate abortion. And so how that goes to the other issues is whether or not these issues are going to be left to the states to decide, or if there's going to be, or if the feds are going to say, look, these are the minimum protections that's afforded in these issues.
And I should probably know this already. So does that mean if you take a topic such as abortion and it's regulated by the states, that based on whoever's in power in every state, it could change given, I mean, because it's, things
right,
do
what
change
you're saying
state
is,
by state.
Yeah, what you're saying is, like, if the Democrats take control over the legislature, then it'll change, and then once the Republicans,
Right.
if there's a swing back to Republican, yes, that's part of the issue, is that, there could be massive swings of the pendulum based on who's in political power. We timed this perfectly. We're both eating.
We did. This sandwich is extremely messy. I got the ham and cheese BLT, and it is awesome.
I don't think yours is near as messy as mine.
Oh no, yours is like a heap of a sandwich. Is it good though?
It is very good. The au jus is excellent.
Sacre bleu.
I can't affirm or stand behind any words that you say in another language, if that's what that was. I mean, that could have just been a conglomeration of noises that have no meaning.
Look, I've heard Pepe Le Pew say that. I know he's been canceled, but I grew up with Pepe. While I don't necessarily endorse his behaviors, he was still entertaining.
And that was my thought once you said that, is that maybe Pepe's not the best guy to be quoting on the podcast. I would like to know if we do have any French downloads, though, if they can tell us what you just said.
I think I know what it means. And if that's the case, it may be a cuss word, but I'm not 100%.
I'm sure that Travis would appreciate you not racking up any FCC fines while he's on his fishing trip.
I'm going to tell you right now, if we are somehow on the FCC's radar, I would be very proud. So I don't know if we're on the FCC's bandwidth whatsoever, but it would be nice. It would be nice because, I mean, look, we're still trying to get listens in Alaska and Hawaii.
I've heard there's very good fishing in Alaska.
Fly fishing or regular fishing?
Probably both. Well, you can fly fish anywhere you can regular fish. It's a lot of people don't know is you can fly fish anywhere you
So you can
fish.
fly fish in the ocean?
Oh yeah, bone fishing is a huge fly fishing.
What is bone fishing?
It's a type of fish. But it's,
I was thinking like you tie a bone to the reel.
No, it's
or
not
the line
Flintstones.
and you throw it out there. Hey, I don't know what fish eat. There's all kinds of crazy fish out there.
And we've talked about this, PJ. We need to get you a pair of boots because you don't have boots.
Now, what do you think I need boots for?
Well, I mean, we've been on at least 2 trips with the drone that you needed boots.
Okay, that's true. I went to Garden of the Gods yesterday, and then I went to this place called Cave in Rock, which is a little village about 30 minutes away from there, both in Illinois. And they have an actual cave where Jimmy Stewart had filmed a movie in that cave. And I didn't realize this until after we had left, so we were in a part of American cinematic history. I think it was How the West Was Won was the film. And anyway, it was very muddy inside that cave, and the shoes that I wore got decimated with sand and mud. And then when we walked on the riverbank, it too did not do well for the show. I could have used some boots when I did that.
Hey, that's an idea for the podcast. Boot shopping with PJ. That would be an interesting
Then we'd have to
episode.
walk around and we couldn't sit. That might be dangerous. So, but real quick, I want to give a shout out to our server, Ryan. She's been doing awesome. She keeps checking on us to make sure that we have water and, is that Diet Mountain Dew? I don't know how you drink Diet Mountain Dew. Regular Mountain Dew is gross enough.
Yeah, I'm trying to cut out like
Flavor?
well, I get a hint of flavor.
That's what
No, I'm trying to cut out all some sugar. Now I'm not doing great, but
You're doing better.
better. Yeah.
I had an energy drink for the first time in, I don't know, probably 6 months yesterday. It was a coffee-flavored Starbucks energy drink, and it was probably the most delicious thing I've had in a while.
Your kidneys probably thank you for the time off that they've had.
Oh, I'm sure. I can only imagine the jump start they got yesterday. So I've lost 50 pounds. I'm
Congratulations.
still there.
That's great.
I've plateaued. My body keeps wanting to try to lose weight because I've been doing walking and things. I'm going to end up joining a gym here pretty soon. I've been eating horribly the last week.
Yeah.
And I haven't gained anything, thankfully. But it's only a matter of time if I don't get this in check.
Yeah. Well, summer's coming up.
Yeah, my favorite time of year.
Beach body.
We'll see.
And I think you told you this. You'd gotten a new belt, right?
I have gotten a new belt. I actually have to go out and buy new pairs of pants.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah,
So
I
that's,
told you really need to get some new pants because they're starting to look like a garbage bag cinched up at the top.
Yeah. You're not the only one. Leslie was pointing that out to me. Every time she sees me, she's like, your pants look terrible because they're so baggy on you. And I'm like, what? I think they look fine. Then she went out and bought me this shirt yesterday, which is a size smaller than what I've been wearing, and it fits good. So,
Well, if I can give you some advice, don't get pleated pants.
okay.
Avoid pleated pants. Get flat front pants.
Okay.
And actually, slim fit are actually made for bigger guys.
Really?
As myself, I'm a bigger guy. But yeah, they actually have a trimming effect for bigger fellows rather than just. Now, don't get skinny, okay?
Oh, no. Well, I see the slim, and I automatically try to stay away because
No, you actually should try to find a pair of slim pants, slim cut pants. The baggier, the worse it just makes it look worse.
I mean, I'm no fashionista, so
Well, I know.
I'll pretty much wear whatever.
Well, but you want to look good for your lady, right?
That's true. I almost said something. It would have given my secret away, so I can't say anything else.
That's right. You may need a new suit coming up.
He's talking about my inevitable funeral, of course. And all right, so we've talked about a lot today. We talked about Supreme Courts. We've talked about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp and their whole fiasco. And I don't know. I feel like we've accomplished a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's flown by for me, PJ.
It really has.
This wasn't near as awkward as I expected it to be.
Because it is awkward because you're in a room doing a podcast, and I'm sure people were like looking over here every now and
I
then.
don't think they're paying attention to us, PJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they seem really not concerned with what's going on over here.
Awesome. That means they're preoccupied with their food because, as we all know, Dee's Diner does have some delicious options that you should come check out. That is not a shameless plug. That is that's just a plug. It's not shameful at all because their food really is.
It's good. It is
good.
really good.
I've
This
never
is the first
had
time I've had their lunch. And,
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I usually come for breakfast.
Okay.
My wife loves their Bananas Foster's French toast,
That's right.
which is a true delicacy.
So what makes it a Foster's? Is there Australian alcohol in it?
No, they put some kind of chocolate sauce on it and powdered sugar. I really don't know what the Foster. Maybe the guy that invented it was named Foster. I don't-
Maybe. We'll have to dig deeper into that, and then on the next podcast, we'll let everybody know what we find out. Don't hold your breath, though, because we will probably forget to look into that. Just being honest with you. So, all right. Do you have anything else that you would like to declare?
Not at this time, no.
Cool. Okay, well, we know that we have a secret that's going to be unleashed on the next podcast for Travis's enjoyment. If you haven't been to Dee's Diner, come out here, check out their food. Next time we're here, which will be 2 weeks from now, definitely come say hi to us. And I think those are the first people who walked in the room and are like, what is this?
The first people to notice this.
What is happening here? Did we come to the right place? All right, well, this has been another episode of Law Lite Podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the forms of social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're out there. You can hear us on iTunes, Spotify, all the places the cool kids are going to listen to things. And, until next time, this is PJ.
John Bennett, always go Cats.
I can't remember who Travis is for. Is he against cats?
Yes.
Okay, that's why you said that. All right, well, you'll get fired and I won't. So, all right, till next time.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!